Ladies, gentlemen, and hurrah of all ages, thanks to the folks over at Blizzard, we've had access to the review build for Vessel of Hatred and Season 6, and with this releasing to the public in just a few days, there is one big question that is on a lot of people's minds. How are we going to be leveling effectively in this new season? Well, first and foremost, we need to talk about the obvious answer, which is the expansion story campaign. With this new expansion comes this new campaign along with it, and the vast majority of players will choose to do this campaign regardless of whether it's efficient or not, for pretty obvious reasons. It's new story in a Diablo game. The campaign then is lengthy, but not unrewarding for that length. Each quest has a set reward that is unaffected by difficulty tier, but does scale with your level, so it gets better the higher level you get. And so without question, the best way to do the campaign for efficiency is actually just on normal difficulty, because quests don't scale with difficulty tier. For the sake of trying it, I did do leveling on a Spiritborn where I was doing the campaign, and constantly upping the difficulty wherever it felt comfortable enough to do so, and I ended up on Penitent difficulty from the moment that I had my key passive unlocked and selected. Most of the people that I talked to said that they finished the campaign at level 50 to 53, doing it on either normal or hard difficulty at most. With my significantly increased difficulty tier doing like half the story on Penitent, I hit around 56 if we include the activities that I did outside of the campaign as well. So the difference in value isn't actually overly worth how different the time spent was, and the result is, yeah, if you want to both do the campaign and be efficient, just do it on normal difficulty or maybe hard. That said, before you even jump into the campaign itself, there is one thing I recommend doing first, which is starting off the Season 6 mechanic, Realmwalkers. The activity can be a bit tough solo at level 1, but it is a world event, and given this will be the start of the season on live servers, I am sure a ton of people will come and join in to make this a breeze in open world instances. The main reason that you want to do this is when you complete the Realmwalker event, you get seething opals. These are seasonal only consumables with various effects, but the one that they all share is a 15% increase to your experience gained while it is active. This 15% stacks on top of the 5% bonus experience from having an elixir active, and also the bonus for having an incense active too. So you want to do your best to keep one of each of these things active at all times to maximize your experience bonus. Another sort of underlayer to mention here is the Smoldering Ashes in the Season Pass. They are in the free track, and of course there is both an earn for boosting the XP gain from killing monsters, which now this season forward scales multiplicatively with world tiers, so it's extremely valuable. And there's also one that gives you a chance at bonus opals when completing the Realmwalker activity. Both of these are of course relevant to experience gain and leveling for their own reasons. That said, again, your main goal is doing the campaign. When you stop to do other things during this sort of depends on your class and your leveling build, but for the most part, when you hit the level to unlock your class mechanic, you should go and do that and get them, as they generally make your class much stronger. You should also get the codex aspects that matter for your class while leveling as early as you have the materials to imprint with, really. Though, to be clear, on the review build specifically, iron chunks and rawhide were unbelievably hard to find compared to the cost that they had for all the different crafting. We were told this was on our build only and should be working just fine on live servers, but it may be worth being a touch conservative with your crafting until we know for sure. Maybe only do like one or two aspects for now. Aside from that, when you unlock Mercenaries, which happens in the campaign relatively early too, you want to pretty immediately unlock at least two of them. Where here is the one that you get sort of just by progressing the campaign normally, and the one that I generally recommend as a reinforcement for your second one is Varyana. These both provide bonuses in combat that will simply make your leveling faster if you improve them, and they also have their own XP and level systems through rapport. That means the sooner that you get these mercenaries unlocked and traveling with you, the sooner that they will be able to improve and become more impactful and useful as well. With all these things considered then, after that, just follow the campaign through to its end, and after the campaign itself ends, you will still have a campaign labeled questline, a yellow quest called Deeds of the Champion. This questline takes you through each endgame mechanic for the game one at a time. Not only does it do that, but it also gives you some pretty unique rewards, including cosmetics and a special mount, and it also unlocks the ability to do Whispers of the Dead in Nahantu, which you can't before the questline. And importantly, it also gives you large bumps of experience for completing each step of the post-campaign questline that this is, so it's also worth doing. If you do all of that and you still aren't level 60 yet, then essentially the best way to level the remainder of the way up to 60 is either through Strongholds, because they give you set XP at the end the first time you complete it, so you can complete them even on normal difficulty once more, and Strongholds specifically scale XP reward with your level, so they are most potent for those final levels from 50 to 60. Otherwise, if you are comfortable upping the difficulty and playing on that, then Helltide becomes the best, as it's just incredibly densely packed with monsters with minimal bosses actually required to be killed, as most builds early on in the game cycle will do great with killing loads of little guys guys and struggle a little bit with bosses. So high general monster density with low boss requirement is the way to go for this. This is also essentially the answer for anyone who just doesn't have the expansion, or if you happen to make an alt and want to skip the campaign. Helltide just sort of is the best way for most of the experience, especially if you can get a group going to level with, and now that the party finder system exists in the game, well, you can pretty much always get a group going, because all you have to do is put the request up and you'll see who opens in. Also, open world activities do not scale to your group size, which of course makes Helltide even better with this system put in. Aside from that, once you hit level 60, you'll probably feel a little bit underpowered, and that is because the jump in scaling from level 50 up to 60 is absolutely massive on gear. The faster that you go through those 10 levels, the less optimally your gear will keep up, the harder it will feel. That said, once you hit level 60 specifically, your next step is to get into Torment difficulty. Torment 1 requires you to do a tier 20 pit run within the timer. The main thing that will make this achievable is having a 750 item power weapon, but upgrading the rest of your armor pieces and the rest of your set to 750 will help a lot too. Tempering, legendary aspects, all of that will help you push into that next bracket of power here to sneak into Torment, even possibly some easier base uniques if you want to grab them, because you probably will have grabbed a fair amount of Murmuring Opals by this point, and if you didn't know, the Murmuring Opal vendor is incredible for unique items this season. The gambling ratio to uniques is just much higher than it has ever been in the past. So essentially just do whatever you need to do to get powerful enough to make it through your tier 20 pit, as Torment 1 is where the endgame really starts and really begins. This is when you get access to all of the activities in the game, and some of them are extremely rewarding. That said, leveling will still be a thing even past max level this time around, because both Mercenaries' rapport system and the paragon point system now requires experience farming past level 60, past max level. So it is worth mentioning that above everything else I have mentioned, the best experience farming method for this is going to be Infernal Hordes for most people, which only unlocks in Torment difficulties. It isn't quite as good of an activity this season for what it was good at last season. It rewards less masterworking materials than Nightmare Dungeons on average for the amount of time it takes, but it gives just an absolute ton of experience as a reward. If you eventually make it to the point where high tier pit runs are completable without breaking a sweat, they will also overtake Hordes for experience if you can do like somewhere around 3 tier 80 pit runs in the same time it would take to do 1 Infernal Hordes on Torment 4. If you break that ratio, then pit becomes more efficient. That's getting a bit lost in the sauce here. For most people, it'll just be Infernal Hordes at this point. Just know the campaign is great for leveling in the first place, but if you want to avoid it or need to finish the last few levels, maybe you haven't bought the expansion, Helltides will be the activity that you want to focus for pure leveling efficiency. Make sure you keep your various stacking buffs up, elixirs, incense, and the seething opals this season, which is a seasonal thing, as well as the Smoldering Ashes buff to monster kills too. Once you hit level 60, if you still want experience efficiency, the activity priority shifts mostly to Infernal Hordes as much as you can do them. One thing that I haven't mentioned, but probably should as well, this season especially isn't necessarily about getting to max level as quickly as possible, so much as correctly as possible. Doing the campaign is important, of course, if you bought the expansion, and so is working out your Renown for the new region as well. This will get you bonus skill points, it will get you a bonus potion slot, and it will get you paragon points further into the process too. The best recommendation I have in relation to the fact that everyone will want to fill out this Renown too is that you should just sort of do it passively as much as possible while doing the story campaign. Pick up all the side quests that you come across. If a side quest happens to be simple or is directly on your route to a main story objective, complete it. This will get you more quest completion XP, which is great to just have along the way through the main story you have to do anyways, but will simultaneously double up as working towards your Nahantu Renown completion. So just keep that in mind as you progress really, and it'll make both of these things a little bit easier. The one thing that I do need to also make mention at the tail end of here is Kurast Undercity, one of the new activities. This activity unlocks during your first time through the expansion campaign, but will be available on any ults once you've hit level 15 on them, or again for that last stage of leveling on your main character after you finish the campaign. And we know currently that one intended function of the Undercity activity is experience farm, and there is a tribute that you can get and use with this, which when you do, makes it specifically reward a bunch of bonus experience at the end of the activity. However, on the review build we had, this tribute was bugged, it did not work, it didn't do anything, so we didn't get to actually see how good this would be with the tribute active. And without the tribute active, the Undercity is just sort of fine for experience. It's not crazy good, but it's not a waste of time either. So essentially, just consider that that could be an extremely strong experience grind option if this works properly, but we just don't know yet because we couldn't test it. That just about does it for today then, everyone. Just my sort of roundup of the leveling building experience in Vessel of Hatred and Season 6 from the review build that we were given, and the best ways of maximizing your experience gain, with of course the understanding that the vast majority of the player base will want to do the expansion campaign regardless of efficiency, and will also want the Renown filled out. And honestly, I recommend that you do these things. It's a really solid storyline, and you only get to experience it for the first time once, so enjoy it this time around. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.